What's up, guys? Spartan85, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to do something just a little different. We're going to go back down memory lane and look at the Alpha 17 official release notes. Now, if you're wondering why, well, there was a lot in here that got added to the game that we still have today. It was a really big update. A lot of things added, but a lot of things were gutted and removed. And it's just really interesting to see what happened after 16.4 and where this game has gone since. It's just really interesting to see this. So we're going to have a little fun. We're going to go back down memory lane and read, like I said, the Alpha 17 release notes. And I think it's interesting in just the first paragraphs. Hard to believe, but it's been nearly a year and a half since our last major update. That said, this has been our longest and largest update so far. On top of that, it's the biggest content drop we've ever done. And you're going to see there is just a lot in this update. Okay, the first update is the art lighting PBR, whatever the heck that is. I don't think it's something we can drink. And then texture streaming. Basically, the game got a little brighter. The objects got brighter, the zombies got brighter, and this streaming allows us to add nearly unlimited art content in future updates. So it really kind of opened the door. It was a big update with Unity, and it kind of opened the door for them to add more things further down the road. Next up was the party system, and I didn't realize, but Alpha 17 is the first time we had the party system, that you could ally with people, you could get XP, you can share XP, you can share quests, you can track parties' member location and their health. So I didn't realize that, but that's what we got in Alpha 17. Alpha 17 was also the time when we got quests. This was the first alpha for the quest, and at the time we had clear sleepers, fetch, hidden cache, buried supplies, clear and fetch, clear and hidden cache, treasure old, and then challenge. And I've played Alpha 17. I streamed it not too long ago. I don't know if all of those quests were in Alpha 17 or they got taken out before I got to that point. I only played tier 1 quests. And at the time in Alpha 17, it was really hard to get quests that were close to the trader. A lot of the quests were like 1.5 kilometers away. And so I had to go into the admin menu and reset the quest just to get something that was like 500 away. And this is also back when we just got one reward. You went back to the trader and you got one reward, and you had to put points into Daring Adventure, and each perk gave you an extra reward to choose from. So instead of having, one hunting knife, which is what I got when I streamed, you could have a hunting knife and maybe a first aid kit to choose from. Navezgane, almost doubled actually more than doubled in size. Navezgane went from 16 square kilometers to 36 square kilometers. And also the height in Navezgane was much more extreme and natural looking. They also added a ton of new POIs, and this is also the first alpha that we got the dungeon style POIs that are kind of controversial. A lot of people like them, and a lot of people kind of miss the old style POIs that you just went in and you cleared it any way you wanted, and there was this kind of loot scattered all over the place. And they added over 150 new location and POIs to Alpha 17. And these are either new POIs or reimagined POIs. The Shamway Factory, the Shotgun Messiah Factory, Navezgane Hospital, Parishton Courthouse, 4 skyscrapers in Departure, new giant Parishton Church, 4 business strips, 9 old businesses, 8 abandoned houses, which are non-questable, apartment building, 65 houses of various size and challenge, 8 ramshackle survivor sites, Waterworks Utility Company, 3 army camps, 3 barns, a bus stop with non-quest, cemetery, rolled culvert, 7 new garages, Red Mesa installation, which I'm guessing got reworked, vacant lot, 9 gas stations, 5 docks in Navezgane only, 15 cabins, 4 caves, 2 diners, and 2 fast food restaurants were all added to Alpha 17, which is pretty wild. I think the last time we got a major addition of these POIs was maybe Alpha 21 and 1.0 got major additions of POIs and rework of POIs. Alpha 17 also saw the addition of the vehicles we currently have. Before, we just had the mini bike. Now Alpha 17 added the bicycle, the 4x4, the motorcycle, and the gyrocopter. And then also the mini bike got rebranded to what it is now. Instead of it being like, you can add different parts and stuff and make it faster, it was just, the mini bike like it is now. And they also added the turbo mode to the vehicles. And this is also where we could install mods on vehicles. And this is also Alpha 17. We could add mods to like weapons and armor, and I'll get into that in a minute. Alpha 17 was interesting too because we could assemble the bicycle without a workbench, which was really cool. You just had to get the parts to make the handlebars, the frame, and then you had to get the wheels too. But once you had those, you could assemble the bicycle without a workbench. And this is also the alpha where we had destroyed workbenches and working workbenches and all the other workstations too, like the forge and the chem station. But when I streamed it, I had a working workbench at the trader. So of course I set up close to the trader. I could go there and use the workbench. Although the chem station was destroyed, the forge was working, so I could get forged iron on day one if I wanted. If I want to take some clay, soil, and iron back to the working forge at the trader, I could technically make the bicycle from my backpack. I just needed forged iron. So I really like that. I kind of brought that up in my last video about changing up early game, being able to craft the bicycle and not taking that quest reward from the trader really kind of opens the game up a little bit. We don't have to grind those quests quite as fast. And we don't have to take the bicycle as our first 10 job reward. We can take something else. It just kind of opens the game up a little bit. Alpha 17 also saw the addition of a lot of different zombie AI and pathing, specifically them being able to dig down. This is the alpha that changed a lot of stuff. We couldn't just hide underground. They can now dig down. They could also jump over stuff. They just had a better pathing too. They could get up to us a little better instead of just circling below us in a big circle. Now they climbed, they jumped, they just found better ways to get to us. This is also where kind of the structural engineers of the zombies started. New path calculations based on distance versus destroying blocks and uses the block health, including downgrades. So maybe instead of, the zombie running across the beam that we built, if they see a block is downgraded, they're going to go attack that. And that's kind of what we have now. So Alpha 17 saw the start of maybe the structural engineer style zombies that we kind of have now. Alpha 17 also saw the start of the zombie speed options, like the walk, jog, run, sprint, and nightmare. You could also set the zombies to like jog or run during the day. I really like that feature, the jog feature. I like to set that on my normal playthroughs. It just kind of gets the zombies to you a little quicker so you can bash their skulls in. I kind of talked about this earlier, but we got the modded item system. So we got like scopes and flashlights and silencers and duckbill mods we could put on our guns in Alpha 17. Also the magazine extender mods, the barbed wire mods, also armor mods that help with encumbrance, heat, cold, and stealth, like the armor pocket mods, and the customized fitting mods and stuff like that all came in Alpha 17. We also got the addition of a lot of different items and recipes like Mega Crush, Steroids, Recog, Grandpa's Awesome Sauce, Grandpa's Learning Elixir, Grandpa's Moonshine. The table saw was added and you could craft advanced wooden blocks in the table saw. And there was a time period, a couple alphas, where we could use the table saw to craft blocks. We can't use it anymore to craft anything. This was also the alpha that saw the temporary attribute perk magazines. They were really interesting. You read them and they gave you like 30 minutes of maybe more strength, 30 minutes of more perception. They were really interesting and they didn't last very long. But that was kind of the start of these magazines per se, the perk books and stuff. So that's a lot of things that were added. What about the things that were changed in Alpha 17? Physical attribute, skill system, and progression. I'm just going to read this line. This is from the Fun Pimps. We gutted and rebuilt the skill system from the ground up to be more of a true skill tree. Action skills were gone in Alpha 17. This is the first alpha that we didn't see action skills. This is where we got perception, strength, fortitude, agility, and intellect added. And there's some really interesting attributes in Alpha 17. I'm going to read through some of the ones that we don't have anymore. Like under strength, we had Wrecking Ball and Sexual Tyrannosaurus. Both of those are gone. Heavy Metal is the Sledgehammer perk. It was just called something different. Intrinsic immunity. I hope I said that right, but basically it raises your immunity to diseases and getting sick. Because back then, all the food had a chance to give you food poisoning. So you wanted to raise your immunity also for infections, getting infected by the zombies and such. It was a really interesting perk to have under fortitude. Also, recovery had fully hydrated, slow metabolism, and self-medicated, all kind of health perks. The fully hydrated was one that kind of helped you with your drinks. You got more from the drinks. Charging Bull was an interesting perk under agility. Basically, it raised the damage of your sprinting attacks. So you put more points into that and your sprinting attacks got more. Here's one, Olympic Swimmer. There was a perk that let you swim faster and less stamina. How interesting is that? There's also one called Ninja Movement for stealth. I think it's been rebranded to something else now. Okay, here's another thing that was changed. The integrated survival system. ISS, not the International Space Station, the Integrated Survival System. And I'm going to read this again. This is from the dev's mouth right here. We've thrown out the old wellness system and added the new integrated survival system. So this is kind of the start of the health system that we have now. Basically, you know, if you have a concussion or an infection, your max health is lower. So maybe, you know, your health might be 100, but your max health is 70, so you can only heal to 70. The wellness was taken out. Gone were the times of trying to eat better food to get better wellness. You know, if you die, your wellness goes down to 90, but you can eat food to restore that over time back to 100. Or if you eat the right foods or do the right things, you know, eat vitamins and such, your wellness, you know, you could get up to 120, 130. You would eat food or use medicine to restore health, use bandages or med kits to restore your max health cap. And then same with stamina. Drink water to restore stamina, eat food to restore your max stamina cap. And I know there's a lot of people out there that miss action skills, and I think there's a lot of people out there that miss the old wellness system too. How do you guys feel about the wellness system? That's something I really haven't asked a whole lot. Do you guys miss the old wellness system, or do you like what we have now? This is also the alpha that they completely redid the backpack to where it is now, and it added encumbrance. So instead of just having a wide open backpack like we used to have in Alpha 16 and everything before that, this is where they added the encumbrance system. And we had a 45 slot backpack. And you could also use Pack Mule, and you could use armor pocket mods to increase your encumbrance level. They also reworked weather survival, and I know we've had a lot of weather changes over the years, especially with Storms Brewing update and all that. But back then, we had clothing in Alpha 17, and everything before that we had clothing. Clothing can have both a hypothermal level for cold protection and a hyperthermal level for heat protection. No more dressing and undressing constantly, which is kind of funny. That's kind of what we do now. You know, if you have like a mining helmet or a loot helmet, or maybe the nerd outfit that helps you read magazines a little better, we kind of undress a lot now, so it's kind of interesting they said that. Armor can be modified to add further hypo and hyperthermal protection. And then various items and blocks could change your protection for storm. So it's just pretty interesting to see how the weather was in Alpha 17. You know, it's changed a lot over the years, especially like Alpha 16 and before, where you got cold, or when it rained, you got wet. And then now in Alpha 17, they added these different protections you could use to help you with the cold and the heat. Interesting how it's changed, and how it's changed all the way to Storms Brewing too. This is also when they really started hiding loot in POIs, added a whole bunch of new loot containers. This is where they added the large and the small gun bags, the reinforced chest, and the super chest that we had to crack into. Here's one that really hurts me, really hurts. The plains biome was removed in Alpha 17. The plains biome right there. I miss the old plains biome. And a lot of people do too, but yeah, we lost an entire biome. This is also where we'd lost the clay soil patches. Now the entire ground everywhere is just clay soil. And it's also interesting in Alpha 17, and a lot of the alphas before, it wasn't just Alpha 17, but you could dig snow up, bring it back, and make basically clean water from snow and glass jars. And that's kind of what I did in my stream. I was kind of near the snow. I had a snow patch near me, so I just dug a whole bunch of snow, and I had plenty of water. You can also use cans to boil the water. If you don't have a cooking pot, you could have used empty cans to boil the water, and you had water at least for a couple days. It was just interesting back then. And if you've ever wondered where some of the pictures in the POIs are from, they're actually Kickstarters. Ben, Lorian, and Derek, some of those pictures in the houses were actually Kickstarters that they got to pay to have their portraits added. In Alpha 17, they added 3 more Kickstarters for those pictures. Alpha 17, we also saw the addition of the power attack for zombies and blocks. Alpha 17, we also could not loot zombies. We got loot bags. So this was the alpha that they got rid of lootable zombies. This is where we could start taking down tree stumps. We couldn't search tree stumps anymore. We had to take them down, and we got a chance to get honey. I love this one here. Being on fire can warm you up. I love that. I love that. Well, that's just added. That I mean, I think that would warm anybody up if you're on fire. This is also the alpha that we got the female lab zombie added. And then here is the changed log. I'm just going to scroll through this so you guys can see how much was changed. And then also how much was fixed, which I haven't even made it down to the fix. Here's the fixed log here. Just insane amount of stuff. I'm not going to read through all of this. I've read through a lot of it. I know I will post this patch notes in the video description down below. So if you want to see this, go down and check it out. There is just a lot of stuff in this, and one of the biggest updates I've ever read. Like, this is just insane how big this update was. And it's interesting, there's a post right after this, out the state of Alpha 17. Kind of sound familiar, doesn't it? A little bit, but Alpha 17 is not perfect by any means, but a big step forward towards the vision we have had for the game for a long time. We have heard some valid concerns of the community and will be making needed adjustments to the game in the coming weeks, along with bug fixes, optimizations, and balance. Maybe a controversial update that came out and the Fun Pimps had to listen to feedback and make changes. Kind of sound familiar, doesn't it? Let me know in the comments what you guys thought or think of Alpha 17. I know there's a lot of people out there that thought that this was the alpha, the unplayable alpha for some people, the alpha that really changed the game in a completely different direction. A lot of people kind of think that, and then it kind of has led to where we are now. A lot of people think that Alpha 16.4 was the best iteration of the game that we have ever had, and this, you know, this is one of the reasons why, maybe because Alpha 17 was just such a big change. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Love to hear from you guys, and I'll catch you guys out there in the next video. Appreciate you. See you later. Bye.